question. If I write this in Python, numbers is equal to 1, 2, 3, and then I'll write number 0 is equal to 10. Now, basically, this code works, right? Because it's actually a list and it works. But if I change it to a tuple, Python throws an error. But why does that happen? Now let me tell you the difference between Python lists and tuples. So here, like, I'll give you an example so that you guys can understand it better. Print my list. All right, there you go. Now here it would end up printing the list like usual. So basically a list is a collection of items stored inside square brackets. So always remember it is stored inside square brackets, all right? Not parentheses, anything. So now we can also access elements. And to access elements, we can basically do mylist index 0 is equal to 10. Yeah, there you go. And then you can write print mylist. All right. Now, basically, this would end up replacing the index 0 by, oops, I mean 50. Yeah. All right. So basically, Python starts indexing at 0. So the first element is index 0. There you go. Now here, lists, they're mutable. Now, if we type mylist index 1, like I said, so this example that I just did here, it's called mutability or like, yeah, mutable code. Now we can also add items with the append method. So we can also do mylist dot append and then 50. Then I'll do print mylist. Oops, print mylist. And as you can, and once we execute the code, it should give us 50. As you can see in here, let me just scroll up so that you guys can see it better. As you can see, it ends up giving us 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 as our final outputs. So basically the append function, again, it adds a new item to the end of the list. Now, I'll be introducing Python tuples. So again, I'll be giving a code example so that you guys can understand better and the difference much more clearly. So my tuples is equal to 10, 20, 30. Now notice what I just did here. Basically, instead of using curly brackets, I use parentheses because tuples, they always use parentheses. That's the main difference that you should always remember. So print my tuples. Yeah, I'll just change it to my tuple. Right, so basically a tuple is very similar to a list, but it uses parentheses. Now, just like lists, tuples support indexing, so you could do print my tuple index 3 or index 2, and it would end up printing 30. Now, just to make sure we're going to execute the program, as you can see, it ends up giving us 30 as our final output. But now, let me tell you guys an important difference, and it's actually a very big difference between a list and a tuple. Now let's try changing a value. Just like list, you might expect that changing a value and then if you execute the program, it would give us the desired output, right? But no, that's wrong. Actually, if we do my tuple and then index 1 is equal to, for example, 99, then we do print my tuple, and then let's execute the program and let's see what it's going to give us. As you can see, it ends up giving as an error, tuple object does not support item assignments. Let me scroll it up. As you can see, it ends up giving us an error. So how do you fix this error? Well, basically, tuples, they're immutable, meaning they cannot be modified after they are created. So basically, you just have to remove this entire line. That's literally like it's causing the error. So if you just remove it, then yeah, it would end up fixing the error. So here's the important summary. Lists, they're mutable, meaning they can be modified after the list is created, and tuples, they cannot be modified after the tuple is created. Now, when should you use tuples? Now, you can use tuples when you're talking about data that cannot be changed. So that's only the time when tuples are a good choice. So if you do coordinates is equal to, for example, 10 and 20, there you go. Let me just clear this terminal because it looks weird. Now, basically, yeah, coordinates, you can use it for RGB colors or days of the week. Now, tuples, they're also slightly faster and more memory efficient than lists, which is also another difference between lists and tuples. So yeah, basically coordinates is equal to 1020, and you can do print coordinates to end up printing the coordinates. Now let's uncover tuple unpacking. Now what is tuple unpacking? Now basically tuple unpacking is like when you Python automatically assigns the values inside the tuple to the variables. So what do I mean by that? So if we do xy is equal to coordinates, and then if we do print x, print y, now what do you think this code would end up printing? Well, actually, if we execute the program, it will end up printing 10 and 20. Now, why? Just like I said, the variable x's value becomes 10 automatically, and then the variable's y's value becomes 20, because that's what it's called tuple unpacking, and that's why it's useful. Now let me give you guys a very quick like comparison between a list and a tuple. So let me just put it in comment. So my list is equal to 10, 20, 30, and 40. Here I'll put my tuple is equal to 10, 20. Now this is basically the key difference. Always use parentheses for tuples and curly brackets for my list, like for a list. Now lists, they're mutable. You can add, they're mutable. You can add or remove items. Like by add, I mean you can use the append method. But for tuples, you have to use parentheses. They're immutable and values cannot change. So these are the three differences between lists and tuples. Now you understand the difference between lists and tuples. Lists, they're flexible and can be modified, while tuples, they are fixed and cannot be changed. In the next video, we'll explore Python dictionaries, another powerful data structure. And yeah, guys, that was it for today's video. So I hope you liked this tutorial and understood the key difference between lists and tuples. And yeah, guys, have a nice day. Bye.